Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to another tech video, and I have been using the iPhone 12 Pro Max now for about 3 months, and it's definitely past that hype period, which means this video is probably not going to get many views, but it's definitely into the daily use period. And I tried to make an effort to fully immerse myself in every new feature that this phone had to offer, and spoiler alert, it didn't really take long to experience all of the new features, but more on that later. For now, let's get into the meat of the review. So for starters, I absolutely love this design. When it came to the 5 and 5S, that slab-sided design, I loved it. I loved it so much actually that I still have 2 iPhone 5Ss in my collection. However, this slab design really works in a size like this, and this is about as big as I think they should go with it. It can't really go much bigger without grip becoming an issue. Like, the sharp edges do help with the grip, but only just. And I know I'm probably going to be in the minority for this one, but I actually like the camera bump design. I liked it when they brought it to the iPhone 11 Pro, and I like it now. Granted, this one is a lot bigger, like rock on a table big when you put it down, but I like it. What I don't like, however, is the fingerprint magnet stainless steel sides. Like, this is iPod back case levels of fingerprint magnet. Like, it is awful. Not as scratch prone as the iPods, but still just so fingerprinty. But the stainless steel band obviously will help with durability since it's stainless steel, as will the ceramic shield over the 6.7-inch Super Retina XDR display. It's an OLED. It's bright, it looks good, everything about it is solid. No 120 Hz display though, but because of another issue down the road that we'll talk about, I can see why they wouldn't have put it on this phone. But yeah, so durability-wise, they've got stainless steel and the ceramic glass on the front. I haven't had a chance to test it, thankfully, and I don't intend to test it purposefully, so that will just remain as a, I guess it's good enough. But overall, I think the design is a definite improvement from last year. Slab sides, stronger glass, bigger camera bump, but just as fingerprinty as last year. Oh, before we move on from design actually, one side note, I did buy a case for this, and I have not bought a phone case in years, but the concept of MagSafe really did interest me. And it's cool, don't get me wrong, but aside from the usefulness of the charger and the actually surprising reliability of the wallet despite some reviews, I think the little animation they made in the case is a little bit extra. Like, I get it, it's cool that you can pull it off, but the haptics for the charger and the wallet, I think, are significantly more useful, so you know that the phone's connected to the charger, and you know when the wallet is on and when it is pulled off. Also, they build the magnets into the case directly, so it does actually strengthen the magnet, or at least seems to be a bit stronger when the phone is in a case with the wallet on the back. So I haven't had it fall off in my pocket yet, but I'll keep you guys posted on that. Now, moving on to performance, it's no surprise that this year, just like last year, there's a new chip running this phone, and the A14 Bionic is a freaking powerhouse. Now, previously, the most powerful chip I owned from Apple was the iPad Pro's A12X, and this A14 finally meets that chip in performance in most areas. Now, the most powerful Apple chip I own now is the M1 in my Mac Mini, which, make sure to subscribe, by the way, because I am actually planning a video talking about what it's like to live exclusively on Apple Silicon, so keep an eye out for that. But anyway, while the raw performance of this chip is extremely impressive, especially for a phone, the day-to-day usage actually doesn't feel any different from my iPhone 11 Pro. Granted, the storage bump is nice. Having 128 at your base model instead of 64 is really cool. Granted, I went with 256 because reasons. I think the big thing most people will notice when moving from an iPhone 11 or 11 Pro is the memory upgrade. You go from 4 gigabytes of memory on the 11 to 6 gigs on the 12 Pro Max. And this means that you can hop between apps or leave an app in the background and come back to it way later and it'll still be open, which is something I could never do on the 11 Pro. I'd switch away from YouTube to respond to a message, come back, and it would be closed. I have not had that happen once on my iPhone 12 Pro Max, which, yeah, 6 gigs of memory will do that. And what's really nice is that it does all of that without affecting the battery life as much as I thought it would. The battery life on this phone is still less than what I was getting on my iPhone 11 Pro, but it's not super noticeable, and most people don't upgrade year after year, so for most people this battery life is going to be more than enough. However, there was a setting turned on that was making my battery life much worse, and once I turned it off, my battery life was what I've been consistently getting now, which is generally about 4.5 to 5 hours of screen on time. But that setting was to automatically connect to 5G. This is the day that I was dreading ever since I saw the leaks that this generation of iPhones would have 5G. Apple made a huge deal out of it on stage, and in my experience, it has made everything worse. Battery life, worse. Speed, this is actually funny. So I had to go to the nearest Apple store to me, which is like an hour drive away in Bethesda, Maryland, to fix my iPad. And that just so happened to be in 5G coverage area. And I ran some speed tests just to see what the hype was all about, and it was less consistent and slower than the LTE that was available in the exact same area. Now, I'm on Verizon. Maybe the experience is better with AT&T or Sprint. But on non-millimeter wave, I would get between 99 to 100 megabits per second on the download. Still impressive, don't get me wrong. For a cellular network, that's awesome. But as soon as I turned it over to LTE, I got 150 plus megabits per second on download. Not to say anything of upload. When I did the upload test, I was getting 9 megabits per second on 5G. I got 40 to 50 on the upload side for LTE. And that's not even mentioning, again, the battery life. I have never seen the speed test app show up in battery usage on my phone. It's never even been in the list, and it showed up because I was doing these tests on 5G. That is ridiculous. So yeah, 5G. It just got real. How much does that piss off you Android guys out there, especially you Samsung users who've had 5G now for like 2 or 3 generations? Like, it's only real now that Apple got it. I'm joking, of course. But yeah, it's real, and it's worse for battery life and slower than LTE, at least on Verizon in the Frederick and Bethesda areas. All right, so now the last thing, the biggest thing, literally the biggest thing, the cameras. The iPhone Pro series has never really been a stranger to good cameras. I was always amazed with the iPhone 11 Pro's low light capabilities, and the iPhone 12 Pro does improve on that a little bit. And I do mean a little. Even with Apple making the main sensor of this phone 47% larger than the last generation, I only noticed marginally better improvements in low light situations. The only things I really noticed in my regular use of this phone camera was the naturally more shallow depth of field because of the bigger sensor and Apple's improved color science. This new color science really does make the photos pop a lot more, but it's done in a very tasteful way. They're not overdone with things like contrast with the Google Pixel, and they're not unrealistically oversaturated like the Galaxy Note. I like it, but it's not for everyone, and some of the shots, even for me, are not to my liking. But that's fine, because I shoot all of my photos in the new Pro RAW mode, which is so nice. If you like the quality of the iPhone image sensor, but you think that some of their adjustments are just not quite what you want, the Pro RAW setting is genius because it takes the photo and it applies what Apple would normally add to their photos, but it adds it as a setting in a standard RAW format that you can then throw into Lightroom, for example, and remove and change and do whatever you want with. It's a super nice way of taking an image that's already going to be pretty good from your phone and giving it that little extra flair, and I love it. And the fact that Apple actually lets their Pro RAW format be saved as a standard DNG file is awesome, because that means that you can edit it with any other program that supports RAW. They didn't have to update it to support it. Unlike their video format with Dolby Vision, which still is not supported in Final Cut Pro after 3 months. It still doesn't play nice with Adobe Premiere. I've actually had to export videos from iMovie with the color grading done properly in a format that Final Cut can talk to. Otherwise, if I just import a RAW format with Dolby Vision enabled, the whole thing just looks extremely bright and overexposed because Final Cut doesn't know how to treat such high luminance values. So I end up having to bring all the highlights way down like this, and then it's actually usable. It's not a great experience. So cool, you have a slightly bigger camera sensor, improved color science, you have a photo format that you can edit on anything, and you have a video format that just doesn't want to play nice with anything. So when it comes to the camera features, there's really not a whole lot of new features. But there is one, and it's one that I have genuinely been entranced by for months on end at this point. It sounds weird to say out loud, but I have fallen in love with the capabilities of this LiDAR sensor on the back. And not for its intended use, which is low-light portrait mode, because no. It's actually because I discovered an app called Polycam that lets you 3D scan objects using the cameras and the LiDAR sensor. I 3D scanned my car, and I also 3D scanned my bathroom because I was bored. Don't judge me. This is a genuinely cool feature, and I can't wait to see what other apps will do with it. I can't wait to see what Polycam does with it, and there are also some other pretty interesting things like the augmented reality features, being able to measure the height of things and have a more accurate length measurement. That's really cool, but yeah, I mean, 3D scanning on an iPhone with a LiDAR sensor. Who'd have thunk it, except for everybody who bought the new iPad Pro that also had a LiDAR sensor. Anyway, overall, the iPhone 12 Pro Max is a really hard phone to recommend because it's the kind of phone that I would recommend to the hardest of the hardcore phone camera fans, but I said at the beginning of the video I wanted to fully immerse myself in all of the experiences that these new features brought, and I also said it didn't take long, and it didn't. The videos that this takes are great, as long as you turn off HDR so you can actually edit those videos, and photography-wise, it's marginally better than the iPhone 11 Pro, and the margin gets even smaller with the iPhone 12 to the 12 Pro Max, but it is better. Color science is improved, and the bokeh, the naturally more shallow depth of field thanks to the sensor, is something you might notice. But that's really all you get out of the cameras for all the hype. So unless you want the bigger screen or the bigger battery, everything else on this phone can be had for less on the iPhone 12 or even the iPhone 12 Pro. The standard iPhone 12 and the 12 Pro still gets you the A14, the oh-so-revolutionary 5G, 128 gigabytes of base storage is still available with the Pro, and the stainless steel build is still available with the Pro. And the only improvements you get with the Pro Max are from the camera. So, at the end of the day, if you really want to spend $1,100 on an iPhone with the biggest screen, and the biggest camera, and the smallest fan base, then get the 12 Pro Max. But for everyone else, just stick to the iPhone 12. That's been it, guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to leave a comment letting me know what you think. Like, subscribe if you want more content like this, and otherwise, I'll see you on the next video. Make sure to be there and have a good one.